Catherine. Genevieve. Okay, so let's practice a little bit what we were doing yesterday. One way to think about this, what we were doing yesterday, those exercises are out of the spinal Qigong series. So the spinal Qigong series is exactly what it sounds like. You're working your spine. And the exercises start at the top of the spine with the neck, and especially the connection between the skull and the spine. And then they work down, excuse me, the spine to the root chakra. And in a way, every exercise works the whole spine, but you're also working particular areas. And when you do that, you want to try to work that area of the spine through all three dimensions. So when we start with the sticks, for instance, all right, we start with Lee circles, and then we go to Shu circles, and then we go to Ping circles. So you want to follow that pattern through every part of the spine. So when we're doing the neck, right? We start with we usually start with the Ping circles, and then we do exercises that include Lee circles, and then with the rolls, you're also throwing Shu circles in there too. So that's the upper register of the spine. What we were working on yesterday was the lower register of the spine, but you go through the same process. You really should do all three dimensions when you do that. Now, it takes a little time, so if you're in a regular class and you do that, you may not have time to do everything all the time, but you should know and work on that same system. Right, so let's focus on this part of the body. So between the Dantian and the root chakra, right? And so you can focus on the hips if you want to. You can focus on the SI joints, which are back in the back behind there, right behind the hip joints, right? And let's start with Ping circles. Right? We could do the exercise that I'm calling the grindstone, right? Right? So it's level, right? We're going to do a little simpler version of that, right? So we're just going to do the same thing, just smaller and more gentle, but it's level. And reverse. And so, what's the point of doing those a gentle little exercise like that? Why not just do the grindstone, right? Well, it's because the grindstone is so much bigger. There's so much more yang. This is a very yin version of that very yang exercise. Why would you want to do a yin version? Well, it takes the pressure off things. Right? This is actually an excellent exercise. It's very gentle. If you're going to teach it in a class, you're not going to put anybody in a threatening situation because it does not overtax people. It's very gentle, but I don't know about you, but I find it very good to do for a couple of reasons. And do you do it 24 times in each direction or 36 times in each direction? You do it enough times in each direction that you settle into the exercise and the rhythm. And what I find happening is a couple of things. One is I become very aware of this part of the body, even internally, where the bones and the muscles are. And I'm not thinking about that, but I'm feeling that in here. And you just sort of relax into that. And you may find, if you're like me, you may find places that are stiffer than other places. You may find places that have a little glitch, right? Where it's not smooth, but it pops, or there's something going on that's not quite smooth. But as you do this over and over and over, it will start to smooth those glitches out. And you begin to feel like, oh, yeah, this is, it just feels like it's being oiled, lubricated. I'm not straining anything, reverse. And even though we're focusing on this part of the body, after a while, I find my whole spine is actually involved in this. Right? So it's going all the way up to the top of my head. It's a very snake-like kind of motion. Right? And sometimes I'll get sort of spontaneous adjustments in my spine up above. And reverse again. Okay. So when I do all three of these exercises, I always start with the ping exercise because everybody kind of knows that one. We've all done an exercise like this before, so it's very simple. Now the next one is Li. We worked on that yesterday. It's a little more difficult. It's a little more difficult in your head until you kind of get it. And the metaphor I use is bicycling. Genevieve has her own metaphor that works for her, and it's a good metaphor. So you get that feeling going, and be very gentle with this. Watch my hands. It's very small. Now inside, that's what it's doing. Very gentle, no strain. And reverse. Okay. Now, for me personally, this area right down here in back in my spine, that's where my spine is screwed up. The L5 joint. And I can feel it. I can feel the constriction. There's a lot of tightness across here, etc., etc. It really affects my SI joints, particularly on the right side, probably because I'm sitting in a chair half the day. All right. And so when I do these exercises, I can kind of put it into two gears. The first gear is, yes, I'm aware of that stiffness and whatever, but I'm not going in to challenge that. I'm just really relaxing and just very, very, very gently moving in that circle inside. All right? Inside is moving in a circle, but it's very gentle. And of course, it makes me become aware that I'm a little stiff in places, that I have sore muscles, etc., etc. But okay, so that's just the way it is. I'm not worrying about it. I'm not trying to make it different. I'm just relaxing and paying attention to the flow of chi. This is really important to do for yourself or if you're teaching Qigong for folks. This is not Western physical therapy. That's a different art. And it may be wonderful, but this is a different art, all right? It's also wonderful. The idea is what's going to do you good is just the flow of chi through that area. Right? So the areas that are a little stiff or a little sore or maybe have been damaged or hurt, you don't go in there and challenge it and try to wrestle it like an alligator, right? You just relax and relax that area, soften it up. And what you'll usually find when that happens is it begins to warm up. Those tissues actually become warmer because you're relaxing, and so that promotes the flow of blood. Oh yeah, all I'm doing is just having the chi flow through that area. And since your chi is literally your life energy, right? Yeah, that's what does the good. And reverse. Um, a really important aspect of all these exercises is when you are engaging in them, either personally in a personal practice session or you're in a class, you are giving yourself permission to leave your kind of day-to-day life. And I don't know about you guys, but day-to-day life is usually very busy and highly pressured, etc., etc. In other words, it promotes tension and stiffness in the body. Leave that for an hour. Just, okay, it's going to be there when you get back. Absolutely. Don't worry about it. It will be there to torture you at any time, right? But just for an hour, just relax into the flow. Right? Your own personal energy that's always there, even though a lot of times you don't have any time for it. Right? And reverse. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing here. It's a very simple little exercise down here, right? I just had two spontaneous adjustments in my spine up between my shoulder blades. Why does that happen? It's because I'm relaxing. Instead of holding my body like this, oh, I've got to have energy, I've got to go do, just relax. Just relax. Okay. Okay, so we've done ping circles, we've done Lee circles. Any comments? Any questions? Any thoughts? All right, then let's go on to the final dimension, which is the shoe dimension, side to side. This particular exercise is probably the most fundamental exercise in Qigong and in Tai Chi. You can do it without using your hands, right? So you can just do it like this. But I like to use my hands. Now, when you do shoe circles, one way to think about this and make sure you're doing them correctly is you don't want to have a flat tire. What do I mean by a flat tire? This is a circle. It's like you're going around. It's like a tire on a car going around and around and around. This is the axle here, and it just goes around and around. What a lot of folks do, particularly at the beginning, and it's just habit, it's just not being aware, is they'll do this. Watch. Clunk, and then they'll go over. Clunk, and then over. Clunk, and over. In other words, this part becomes flat. You got a nice arch here. You need a nice arch underneath. So watch my joints. Sink. Just like here, like right where those, right where the tape is, all right? Sink. 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 Now when you sink, you're probably going to bend your knees a little bit. But most of the sinking happens in the inguinal canals, not in the knees. So it's not this. That's a decent exercise, but it's a different exercise. Right? It should be sinking here. You relax the groin into the top of the leg. And now you come up out of that, and then you sink back into it. And reverse. Sink. There's a move in the beginning Tai Chi form, the third move. Let me do the move, and I'll call out a particular place here. Right here. The name of this tiny little part is called rocking the baby. Rocking the baby. All right. Well, where's the baby? The baby's here. When we would practice Qigong, Master Zhang, once in a while, he would say, why are you doing? Now, he didn't have enough English to say that, but basically he was going, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this Qigong? And he would go, what? Inside, you make a Tai Chi baby. You make a Tai Chi baby. All right? And if you look at ancient woodcuts, illustrations of Taoist practitioners, you'll see them sitting in meditation, and in their belly, there'll be like a window here, and there'll be another version of them inside their own abdomen. All right? That's called the immortal body, the spiritual body. All right? So they were making a Tai Chi baby inside, or a Qigong baby. All right? and reverse. All right, so you guys keep meditating for a moment. I want to share a picture with you. Hold on. Can you see this picture here?
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's large enough, whether you can see this, but he's sitting in meditation. Can you see that he's essentially opening up his abdomen so that
Mm-hmm.
you can see inside? I don't know whether you can see that, but there's another figure inside there that's a tiny little version of him. Most people who do Qigong and Tai Chi are doing it for a little exercise, and that's fine. It is a little exercise, and it's a very good exercise. But there are other aspects to this too. And these simple little circles, right? Ping, Li, and Shu allow you to relax into your own center. So, what was that gentleman doing who was doing the meditation and creating? Uh, this is actually exactly like European alchemy, where the point is to create another you inside you. Right? So, what are they saying? Um, it's about becoming conscious of yourself in a different way. A simple way to say it is our lives are so oriented toward the outside world. Oh, got to go to my job, got to raise the kids, got to go to school, got to do this, got to do that. It's all about out there. When you're meditating, it's not about out there. It's about inside. It's about you. That style of consciousness creates this inner awareness. So that little homunculus, right, that he has inside there is his own consciousness. When you are doing these exercises, don't let your mind go out and deal with all this stuff in the world. And it'll be there when you get back. Instead, you pay attention. Pay attention to yourself. That's a different kind of consciousness. And reverse. So when you engage in Qigong and Tai Chi with that developmental aspect in mind, you sort of working on two different levels. One is that focus on yourself is very healing. You're doing a lot of self-healing, right, physically. But there's another aspect that's really important too, and that is your own personal evolution. So focusing, you could say, focusing the candle flame inside allows the process of self-development to happen more consciously, to happen a little more quickly. And reverse. Now you've got this little you inside here. Think about that when you do this. What are you doing? You're bringing energy in to that little baby. Or you can think of it as bringing energy into your heart, into your being. That kind of practice is what you should be doing and playing with when you do Qigongs and whatever. Eventually, you can bring that into your Tai Chi. It's a little difficult to do at first because, Catherine, as you know, Tai Chi is very complex. So you're probably focusing on the outer physical choreography rather than the inside at first for the first 5 years. But eventually, when you don't have to think about the outside anymore, it just happens automatically. Now you can put your mind back on the center. And even when you're doing Tai Chi, what you're really doing is working the center all the way through. All right? Okay, guys. Have yourselves a good day. We'll see you tomorrow. Ciao.
Thank